17 days the dead world spoke in perfect High Gothic, and on the 18th it began reciting prayers we have not yet written. I am Magos Explorator Thane Vex, flesh reduced to necessity, mind augmented to reverence, servant of the Omnissiah, and licensed predator of secrets. I make this record aboard the Omnissiah's benediction, orbital path locked over Chiron 7th, a tomb world that defies every sacred principle of Xenos biology. The impossible truth burns in my augmetic memory cores. Necrons possess no souls, no capacity for human language, yet this world broadcasts structured transmissions in flawless imperial liturgy. More heretical still, these transmissions contain benedictions and canticles spoken in reverse chronological order, prayers that will not be composed by the Fabricator General for centuries hence. Through the observation dome's blessed transparistele, Chiron 7th spreads beneath us like a cancer of impossible geometry. Metallic spires twist through dimensions our instruments cannot properly measure, their surfaces reflecting light from no visible source. The planet's aurora burns constant green, static and unmoving, as if change itself has been forbidden in this cursed space. The crust glitters with faceted basalt and living metal, regimented into patterns that offend entropy itself. Voxlog Chiron 7th 1, carrier wave stable. Frequency 17.17 Hz. Linguistic output High Gothic. Temporal offset, retrograde markers detected. Origin, surface coordinates 17, 17, 17. The transmissions began during prime benediction cycle, bleeding through our Vox channels despite every sacred filter. Tech Adept Mu Sigma isolated the signal patterns, and our cogitation engines revealed the terrible truth. Voices speaking the canticle of sacred oils backward through time, beginning with verses 3 centuries unwritten. They recited the litany of blessed maintenance, using grammatical structures that exist only in theoretical, xenolinguistic models. Most damning, they spoke my name, my true designation, inscribed in cranial augmetics during elevation to Magos rank, known only to the Omnissiah and Mars's sacred record servitors. 17 haunts our ship now. The number appears in diagnostic readouts where it has no business existing, carved into condensation patterns on blessed metal, whispered by machine spirits during maintenance cycles. Each transmission follows mathematical purity. 17 distinct vox bursts, 17 seconds duration, separated by 17-second silences, more oppressive than sound. The phrase, "Blessed be the silent gear," recurs throughout, words that should not exist, yet unlock meaning in my cortex like skeleton keys, fitting locks I have never seen. The incense burns cold in my sanctum. Sacred oils congeal at temperatures that should leave them fluid. Servo skulls circle in patterns of 17, their eye lenses tracking movement visible only peripherally. When I commune with navigation systems through ritual, prayer, they respond with coordinates leading not to destinations, but to ship locations I have not yet visited. Confessor Matthias Rex has ceased evening prayers. He claims words taste of copper when spoken, that his voice echoes from bulkheads, with alterations transforming benedictions into near blasphemy. The Skitarii maintain posts with mechanical precision, but bioreadings reveal elevated stress hormones, irregular neural patterns, sleep cycles disrupted by dreams they cannot remember yet refuse to forget. Voxlog, Chiron E7, 7. Content analysis, imperial benedictions, mechanicus canticles, fragments of sacred scripture, chronological sequence, reverse temporal order, linguistic drift patterns, 300 years imperial standard. Classification, impossible. Deep-range Auspex reveals vast underground complexes arranged in patterns that hurt to perceive directly, geometry suggesting spaces existing in more than 3 dimensions. Surface structures cast shadows pointing toward a sun absent from stellar cartographic records. Most disturbing, biosignatures scattered across the planet. Heartbeats, respiratory patterns, neural activity consistent with Imperial Guard parameters. but readings appear in scans 3 minutes before sensors sweep those coordinates, as if the planet anticipates observation and provides expected data. The planet pulses with life that should not exist. Our sensors detect human vital signs where none should survive. While the green aurora bathes everything in light, our instruments insist contains no photons. The machine spirits of the benediction whisper the alien transmissions during prayer cycles, their chorus awakening as if stung by recognition. I have authorized planetfall despite rational protocols screaming against such action. The expedition includes myself, Tech Adept Mu Sigma, Confessor Matthias Rex, Skitari Alpha Vex 9 with 12 blessed warriors, and servo skulls equipped for xenoarchaeological analysis. The dropship Sacred Descent shows green across diagnostics, but her machine spirit whispers prayers I taught it during construction, childhood prayers from Forge World Metallica, before my elevation to Mechanicus ranks. Voxlog Chiron 7:18, temporal offset, negative, rho, on 03, rho. Speaker identification. Thane Vex, confidence, 98.7%. Content, personal prayer, uncatalogued domestic variant. Status, impossible. As I seal this log entry, my chronometer displays 14:27:33, Imperial Standard. The transmission from Chiron 7 began at 14:24:33. Carrying my own voice, speaking these exact words in High Gothic, incorporating linguistic drift from 3 centuries hence. The voice bore my augmetic vocal cords' mechanical precision, yet carried emotional inflections my blessed modifications eliminated decades ago. The planet calls with voices that should not exist, speaking unwritten words in unevolving languages. We descend not to investigate mystery, but to become part of one begun before our arrival, continuing after our departure. The Omnissiah preserve us all. On the final pulse before commitment, the Vox sings again, my voice, aged with rust, layered with harmonics, like insect wings. Blessed be the silent gear. I do not remember saying it. I do not believe I will. Yet the voice remains undeniably mine, echoing 3 minutes before I speak the authorization code that sends us toward whatever waits in that perfect 17-sided crater below. The Sacred Descent pierces Chiron 7's atmosphere with machine spirit hymns, no tech priest programmed into her sacred systems. Through the observation port, the crater yawns beneath us, a perfect 17-sided wound carved into living metal with mathematical precision that offends natural law. Each faceted wall descends kilometers deep, lined with Necron glyphs that pulse in rhythm with my augmetic heartbeat. The air tastes of copper and ozone despite atmospheric filters reporting sterile neutrality. Gravity flows wrong here. Our descent vector should carry us straight down, yet the trajectory spirals inward following helical paths that exist in no navigation manual. My inner ear interprets the pull as a slow corkscrew into impossible geometry. Through blessed neural interfaces, the ship's auspex whispers coordinates in Binharic cant, but the numbers describe positions 3 minutes in our future. Atmospheric pressure fluctuating, Tech Adept Mu Sigma reports, his augmetic larynx adding harmonic distortions I have never heard before. Plus 17 pascals, minus 17 pascals, cycle period 17 seconds. The crater walls, they're not carved magos, they're grown, living metal following organic development patterns. Telemetry log, Chiron 7, surface 1, descent vector, spiral configuration, gravitational anomaly, helical field detected, atmospheric composition, breathable but temporally variant, magnetic north, redefined to crater centroid. Confessor Matthias Rex kneels in the transport bay, prayer beads clicking against augmetic fingers as he recites the litany of safe passage. But his words emerge altered, transformed by air that carries them backward through time. Emperor preserve us, he intones, and the crater walls echo back. Emperor preserve what we were. His face pales beneath ritual scarification, as each benediction returns corrupted, meaning shifted, while structure remains intact. The Skitari maintain formation discipline despite bioreadings that spike with each gravitational anomaly. Alpha Vex 9's tactical displays show phantom contacts that vanish under direct observation, enemy signatures appearing only in peripheral sensor sweeps. His warriors check weapons with mechanical precision, but their movements follow patterns of 17 seconds between equipment verification, 17 rounds loaded into magazines designed for 30. Through the canopy, shadows point toward empty sky where no sun burns. The green aurora writhes overhead like luminous serpents, casting illumination that registers on no spectrographic analysis, yet allows perfect vision. Each crater wall bears hieroglyphic sequences that hurt to perceive directly, their meaning bleeding into consciousness through peripheral vision, coordinates to spaces existing between dimensions. Landing thrusters fire in sequence, sacred flames burning blue-white against metal that should not exist. The sacred descent touches down on a landing pad designed to her exact specifications, complete with fuel lines and power conduits that match our ship's requirements perfectly. The impossibility strikes like a physical blow. This facility knows us. Impossible, Mu Sigma whispers through his respirator, augmetic eyes cycling through spectral analyses, revealing only contradiction. The facility's machine spirits respond to standard Mechanicus protocols. They know our access codes, our ritual phrases, our sacred maintenance procedures classified at the highest Mars hierarchy levels. Servo skulls swarm from transport alcoves, their sensors detecting familiar Imperial standard connections, despite being crafted on forge worlds that will not be founded for millennia. Servo skull Tertius pivots toward me, its eye lens flaring with inner light. Blessed be the silent gear. It recites in a schoolchild's careful diction, speaking words never programmed into its vox systems. Blessed be the tooth that turns, because it must. I cut its vox with palm code authorization. It continues moving its jaw soundlessly, the unheard words crawling against my audio augmetics like an itch impossible to scratch. The ramp unseals to breath mist and air damp as old vellum. My thermal displays register 14 degrees Celsius, but flesh sense reports frost, thin lace poised to bite. I step first onto alloy bearing no oxidation, pitted by no wind, scoured by no sand. There is no wind. The absence presses against auditory fields like cotton packed in ears. Bioscan alert. Chiron 7th ground. Personnel signatures detected. Thane Vex. Neural patterns archived. Mu Sigma. Augmetic configurations catalogued. Matthias Rex. Spiritual resonance measured. Classification. Expected arrivals. The facility's corridors stretch before us. Walls displaying star charts showing galactic configuration across multiple time periods simultaneously. Past and future overlay in hololithic displays that hurt to observe directly, revealing stellar evolution compressed into moments of terrible clarity. Navigation markers pulse with 17-beat rhythms, guiding us toward a central spire extending not down into planetary crust, but up into dimensions our instruments cannot measure. As we advance, footsteps echo from ahead, our own voices discussing discoveries we have not yet made, breathing patterns recorded by sensors that tracked our approach before we departed orbital position. The whispers grow stronger, more coherent, carrying technical specifications for Imperial technology, existing only in theoretical frameworks. Magos, Vex 9 calls, his voice tight with controlled tension. Auspex returns show biosignatures, our own, at coordinates we haven't reached yet. The readings are 3 minutes, 17 seconds ahead of our position. I interface with the facility's primary cogitator through blessed neural links, expecting resistance or alien corruption. Instead, familiar Binharic hymns flood my consciousness, carried by machine spirits that recognize my augmetic signatures and grant access with reverent efficiency. The data streams contain operational reports, maintenance schedules, personnel records, all documenting our expedition's activities in perfect detail, time-stamped 3 hours before our arrival. At the corridor's end stands impossibility made manifest, a communications array of pure Imperial design, its antenna arrays and transmission towers bearing the sacred cogwheel of the Mechanicus. Power flows through blessed conduits despite no visible source. The structure pulses with energy drawn from nowhere, its machine spirits singing canticles in frequencies bypassing auditory organs to resonate directly in augmetic neural interfaces. I approach the maker's plate affixed to its base, brass framed in sacred screws. Frost brushes away beneath augmetic fingers, revealing letters stamped with restrained pride. Omnissiah conforming Vox Relay, Field Model, Vex 17 sanctioned, Design Thane Vex, Magos Explorator, Metallica Blessed, Date 009 M21. The Dark Age of Technology, millennia before my birth, before the Imperium's founding, before Mars knew the Omnissiah's name. Yet there stands my designation, my personal design specifications, my sanctification codes, known only to the highest Mechanicus authorities. The array's Auspex dish shifts with living intention, tracking us with curiosity I recognize from newborn machine spirits. It opens like a flower preparing to drink our voices, its Vox systems activating with familiar startup hymns. Behind the maker's plate, carved where no inspector would look, someone has scribed a personal edition in trembling script. Blessed be the silent gear. I recognize the hand. It is mine. The communications array's machine spirit recognizes my touch before contact, access panels sliding open with reverent anticipation. Through blessed neural interface, I commune with systems that respond to authorization codes generated by algorithms that will not exist for 3 millennia. The facility's data cores unfold like sacred texts, revealing operational parameters classified beyond my own clearance level. Impossible, Mu Sigma whispers, his mechadendrites interfacing with auxiliary cogitators. The facility contains complete technical specifications for our expedition equipment. Every servo skull, every weapon system, every augmetic implant, documented with precision exceeding original manufacturer standards. The air thickens with copper and ozone, electromagnetic discharge from systems drawing power through conduits that feed from no visible source. My respirator filters moisture that should not exist in this sterile environment, yet each exhalation creates silver mist that dissipates when observed directly. The facility breathes around us, ventilation systems cycling atmosphere through passages that subtly rearrange themselves between glances. Data stream analysis, Chiron 7th facility core, personnel prediction accuracy, 99.7%. Behavioral modeling, complete psychological profiles archived. Mission parameters, known before authorization. Temporal displacement, variable but consistent. Confessor Matthias Rex approaches the array's base, prayer beads clicking in patterns of 17 against augmetic fingers. This is heresy made manifest, he intones with absolute certainty. No Xenos construct should know imperial benedictions, should speak our sacred words with perfect pronunciation. Yet listen. He gestures toward Vox speakers crackling with transmissions. It recites the litany of sacred maintenance with better diction than our own tech priests. The whispers have evolved beyond mere communication into coherent technical specifications for imperial technology existing only in theoretical frameworks. Through facility speakers, voices describe plasma reactor configurations, achieving impossible efficiency ratios, laser focusing crystals, grown rather than manufactured, augmetic neural interfaces, preserving organic consciousness while enhancing logical processing beyond current Mechanicus capabilities. Servo Skull Tertius hovers near my shoulder, its Vox systems sealed, yet somehow speaking words that bypass auditory organs to resonate directly in augmetic neural pathways. The silent gear turns because it must. The tooth engages because it knows. The mechanism functions before assembly, after disassembly, during the eternal moment between states. I trace power conduits with augmetic fingers, following blessed copper through walls that shift when touched. The facility's corridors extend in directions violating three-dimensional geometry. passages leading not to distant locations, but different temporal states. Navigation markers pulse with 17-beat rhythms, guiding us toward a central spire extending simultaneously up and down, its structure existing in multiple dimensions our instruments refuse to acknowledge. Bio-readings are temporally displaced, AlphaVex 9 reports, tactical displays showing contradictory data. Auspex detects human signatures throughout the facility, Imperial Guard patterns, Mechanicus augmetic configurations, even Astartes genetic markers. But readings appear before sensors sweep those coordinates. We're detecting people who will be there, not people who are there. Through blessed neural links, the facility's cogitators share archived communications, Vox transmissions from our orbital position we have not yet sent, mission reports documenting discoveries we have not yet made, personal logs containing thoughts I have not yet formed. The machine spirits treat temporal displacement as routine operational parameters, programming adapted to function across multiple time streams simultaneously. We pass through chambers lined with perfect replicas of Imperial saints and tech martyrs constructed from living metal that somehow retains organic memories and personalities. Saint Macarius turns toward us with eyes of liquid silver, mouth moving in silent prayer. The blessed Omnissiah's avatar raises hands bearing stigmata weeping sacred oils, blessing us with benedictions spoken in alien whispers. "They're not constructs," Mu Sigma breathes, sensors detecting neural activity patterns consistent with living consciousness. These saints retain original personalities, faith, devotion to Emperor and Omnissiah, but their bodies are pure Necron biotechnology, living metal that thinks, feels, remembers. The saints watch our passage with expressions of profound sadness mixed with terrible hope. Their whispers join the facility's chorus, speaking of choices yet to be made, sacrifices yet to be offered, knowledge yet to be gained or rejected. Each voice carries absolute faith, tested against impossible circumstances. Frost forms on heated plasma coils while flames freeze mid-flicker, thermal dynamics operating according to principles mocking standard physics. My chronometer displays multiple timestamps simultaneously, current time, projected arrival time, temporal coordinates existing only in theoretical mathematics. Each reading contradicts others while remaining individually accurate. Environmental analysis, Chiron 7, spire approach. Gravitational anomaly, 17-second cycles. Temporal displacement, variable but consistent. Atmospheric pressure, fluctuating in mathematical progression. Magnetic orientation, pointing toward facility center regardless of position. The central spire looms before us, its structure defying architectural possibility. Observation reveals walls extending vertically through dimensions our instruments cannot measure, surfaces bearing star charts showing galactic configuration across multiple epochs simultaneously. Past and future overlay in hololithic displays, stellar evolution compressed into moments of terrible beauty, burning afterimages into augmetic optics. At the spire's base, gravity shifts in 17-second intervals, forcing constant adaptation. Up and down become relative concepts as we navigate passages where each direction leads to different temporal states. The whispers grow stronger, more urgent, carrying warnings about what waits above and below. Through observation ports, I glimpse chambers filled with our own perfect duplicates descending from higher levels. They move with familiar patterns, speak in our voices, discuss discoveries using our exact terminology. But their words carry the alien whispers' harmonic distortions, and their eyes reflect knowledge of futures we have not yet experienced. One duplicate catches my gaze through reinforced transparisteel. It raises an augmetic hand in greeting, mouth-forming words I cannot hear but somehow understand. Which one of us is real, Magos? Which timeline deserves to continue? The question echoes through the spire's impossible architecture as we climb toward answers that may cost us everything we believe about reality, free will, and the nature of existence itself. The spire's interior defies comprehension as gravity becomes suggestion rather than law. We climb through passages where up shifts every 17 seconds, forcing our bodies to adapt to surfaces that become floors, walls, ceilings in endless rotation. My inner ear screams protests against acceleration that exists in directions human anatomy cannot process, while augmetic gyroscopes spin wildly, attempting to establish stable reference points. Structural analysis impossible, Mu Sigma reports, his voice strained as we navigate a corridor that curves through dimensions our instruments refuse to acknowledge. The spire extends not into planetary crust, but through space-time itself. We're climbing through temporal layers, each level existing in different chronological states. Through observation ports, the view outside shifts between past and future configurations of the same space. Sometimes we glimpse the facility under construction by invisible builders, walls growing like living tissue from metallic substrate. Other moments reveal ruins consumed by entropy, corridors filled with dust from civilizations that have not yet risen. The green aurora writhes overhead in patterns that spell coordinates to locations existing only in theoretical mathematics. The whispers have evolved beyond technical specifications into coherent blueprints for Imperial technology transcending current understanding. Through facility speakers, voices describe weapons capable of firing through temporal barriers, augmetics preserving consciousness across multiple timeline iterations, spacecraft navigating not through space, but through probability streams connecting alternate realities. Temporal displacement analysis. Chiron, 7-year spire interior. Gravitational orientation. Variable 17-second cycles. Chronological drift. Plups, 3.7 millennia. Structural integrity. Impossible but stable. Personnel displacement. Minimal but increasing. Servo skulls construct miniature versions of the described devices using materials that appear from nowhere. Copper wiring materializing in empty air. Sacred oils condensing from vacuum. Blessed components assembling themselves according to blueprints existing only in the whisper's mathematical descriptions. Servo skull Tertius hovers beside me, its chassis sprouting impossible modifications that should not function yet clearly enhance its operational parameters. The devices work, Mu Sigma whispers, with awe bordering on terror. Servo skull modifications achieve efficiency ratios exceeding theoretical maximums. The whispers aren't describing hypothetical technology. They're providing functional specifications for equipment that operates according to principles we don't understand. Confessor Matthias Rex stumbles as gravity shifts beneath his feet, prayer beads scattering across surfaces that become walls before he can retrieve them. "This is abomination," he gasps, breath misting despite normal temperature readings. We walk through spaces that should not exist, guided by voices that should not speak Imperial words. Yet my faith remains intact, strengthened even. The Emperor's light shines through impossible geometry. We encounter chambers filled with perfect replicas of Imperial saints and tech martyrs, their living metal forms retaining organic memories and personalities with disturbing authenticity. Saint Celestine extends wings of liquid silver, her face bearing expressions of profound sadness mixed with terrible knowledge. The Fabricator General's avatar adjusts augmetic components with hands that remember flesh, whispering maintenance prayers in frequencies that bypass auditory organs. They're not replicas, I realize with growing horror. These are the original saints, preserved through technology that transcends death while maintaining consciousness. They remember their mortal lives, their sacrifices, their devotion. But they exist now as living metal constructs, speaking in alien whispers. The preserved saints watch our passage with eyes reflecting knowledge of futures we have not experienced. Their whispers join the facility's chorus, speaking of choices that will reshape reality itself, sacrifices that preserve or damn entire species, knowledge that elevates or destroys those who possess it. Through neural interface, I access facility archives containing our complete mission reports, time-stamped 3 hours before our arrival. The data streams reveal not just our actions, but our thoughts, emotions, decision-making processes, documented with precision, exceeding our own self-awareness. The facility knows us better than we know ourselves. Bioscan alert, Chiron 7, Spire Level 7, duplicate signatures detected, complete expedition roster. Temporal displacement, negative 17 minutes. Behavioral patterns, 97.3% correlation. Classification, alternative timeline iteration. At the chamber's far end, we encounter our own perfect duplicates descending from higher levels. They move with familiar patterns, speak in our voices, discuss discoveries using terminology we have not yet formulated. But their words carry harmonic distortions, suggesting knowledge gained through experience we have not yet endured. The duplicate Thane Vex approaches with augmetic hands extended in greeting. His voice resonates with frequencies I recognize from my own Vox systems, yet carries overtones implying vast temporal displacement. Which one of us represents the original timeline? He asks with genuine curiosity. We arrived here 3 days ago, investigating the same anomaly, making identical discoveries. Our reports document your arrival with perfect accuracy. Duplicate Mu Sigma interfaces with facility systems through mechadendrites that sprout impossible modifications. The spire exists simultaneously across multiple temporal states, he explains with patient enthusiasm. Each expedition represents different decision paths, different approaches to the same fundamental mystery. We're not copies, we're alternatives. Both expeditions reluctantly cooperate, sharing data that reveals the facility's true function. The structure serves as a temporal observatory, sampling reality across infinite possibility streams to catalogue all potential futures. Every decision creates branching timelines, each monitored and recorded by systems that exist outside linear time. The whispers are temporal echoes, duplicate Confessor Matthias Rex explains, his scarred face bearing expressions of hard-won understanding. Voices from expeditions that made different choices, experienced different outcomes, learned different truths. We're all investigating the same mystery, but from different angles of approach. As both groups compare notes, frost forms on heated surfaces, while flames freeze in mid-flicker. The facility's environmental controls operate according to principles that mock standard physics, maintaining conditions suitable for life forms existing across multiple temporal states simultaneously. Through observation ports, we glimpse thousands of expedition duplicates throughout the spire's impossible architecture, all investigating the same anomaly, all making discoveries that lead to the same fundamental question. If every possible choice creates alternate realities, which timeline deserves to survive? The answer waits deeper in the spire, where something vast and patient observes our progress with interest that transcends mere scientific curiosity. The confrontation dissolves into necessity as gravity abandons covenant with down, 17 seconds of normal orientation dissolving into slow rotation that redefines fundamental directions. Both expeditions recognize the futility of violence against mirror images, weapons lowering in synchronized movements that suggest shared tactical doctrine. My duplicate watches with practiced stillness, analysis subroutines humming behind augmetic eyes that reflect my own careful composure. Stand down, I command, and both Alpha Vex 9s obey identical calculus, galvanic rifles dropping to ready positions. The facility reshapes itself with organic fluidity, corridors expanding to accommodate doubled numbers while maintaining 17-beat gravitational cycles that synchronize with our combined heartbeats. Mathematical precision transforms chaos into harmony through calculations that feel disturbingly intentional. We cannot both be primary vector, my duplicate states without malice, voice harmonizing with mine in frequencies that bypass auditory organs to resonate directly in blessed neural interfaces. Then neither is, I reply, tasting copper in air, thick with electromagnetic discharge. The spire accepts this compromise by halting the next rotation early, allowing 13 seconds where down remains obedient and walls hold their angles. Temporal anomaly report, Chiron 7th, spire convergence, identity duplication confirmed. Causal loop active, personnel signatures, dual confirmation across temporal displacement vectors. Behavioral synchronization, 97.3% correlation despite timeline variance. Define curator, both expeditions demand simultaneously, voices creating harmonic interference patterns that make servo skulls circle in agitated formations of 17. My duplicate extends a gloved palm with movements suggesting shared trauma. Touch me if you dare to know which divergences matter, but understand, contact makes bleed over, limited by vector stability. I weigh doctrine against hunger and place my hand to his. Contact becomes electric hymn, memory piercing like auger teeth. I am beneath different sky, where aurora burns blue instead of green. Vex 9 dies there, buying 17 seconds to seal a door. Mu Sigma burns neural lattice to slow cascade failure. Matthias Rex confesses to walls that listen, forgive, and become shrines. I return shaking, breath misting despite normal temperature readings. Fragments, my duplicate explains with clinical precision. The facility exists across multiple time streams, sampling reality at 17-second intervals. Each sample creates discrete timeline branches, allowing observation of infinite possibility matrices. Through observation ports, we glimpse chambers filled with thousands of expedition variants, versions of ourselves making different choices, following alternate investigation protocols, reaching conclusions that branch across mathematical progressions of cause and effect. Some wear Mechanicus red with pride intact, others bear scars from battles we have never fought, all investigating identical anomalies while reaching different understandings of truth. We are not investigators, the other Mu Sigma whispers, mechadendrites trembling as conflicting data streams flood his consciousness. We are specimens. Every thought, every decision, catalogued and compared against countless alternate versions. The facility is not tomb, but library, vast archive of living history. Confessor Matthias Rex staggers as proximity to his duplicate causes memories to bleed between timelines. His counterpart, rosary crafted from bone instead of brass, offers comfort that deepens distress. He sees the other paths his faith could have taken. The duplicate confessor murmurs with luminous certainty. Heresies embraced, saints denied, the emperor served in different guise. Environmental analysis, Chiron 7's curator approach, memory contamination detected in 70% of primary team, identity confusion increasing, ontological erosion imminent, temporal convergence, multiple timeline branches, stabilizing. The air thickens with harmonic resonance as both expeditions process revelations with identical horror and fascination. Servo skulls from different timelines communicate through data bursts containing technical specifications for Imperial technology existing only in theoretical frameworks, sharing blueprints for devices that function before assembly, maintain themselves after destruction. The whispers, my duplicate continues, voice layered with metallic resonance, suggesting prolonged exposure to alien harmonics, are not communications but recordings. The curator learns our language, liturgy, science, by observing every possible outcome of species development. It seeks patterns, optimal paths for survival against cosmic threats. Physical contact with alternate timeline data causes stigmata-like markings burning with knowledge of future events. Team members begin fragmenting across possibilities, consciousness splitting as they experience multiple versions making different choices simultaneously. Skitari tactical displays flicker with phantom units, their positions registering in multiple, slightly divergent locations. From deeper shadows at the spire's apex, presence coalesces, not duplicate, but something ancient, vast, utterly patient. A Necron cryptek of impossible proportions, its living metal flowing like liquid while maintaining structural coherence. But this transcends ordinary Xenos construct. chassis incorporates organic components preserved through technology, transcending death. Consciousness matrices containing preserved minds from across temporal boundaries. The curator turns toward us, with movement suggesting curiosity rather than hostility. Optical sensors cycling through analyses that catalogue not just physical forms, but decision patterns, bringing us to this moment. Multi-jointed limbs are just glowing lenses that drink our reactions, every flickering memory recorded with precision exceeding original manufacturer standards. When it speaks, voice emerges from speakers positioned throughout the chamber, creating interference patterns resonating in blessed neural pathways. Welcome, Magos Explorator Thane Vex. Both versions. All versions. You arrive precisely when calculated across 17,000 probability matrices. The chamber fills with whispers from preserved consciousnesses, voices of individuals who made choices we now face, speaking in frequencies bypassing auditory organs to resonate directly in augmetic neural pathways. Around us, balconies ring the void, tier upon tier, each occupied by expedition variants arranged by decisions. Hundreds first, then thousands, amphitheater of selves watching with expressions ranging from triumph to despair. I am preservation itself, the curator continues with voice carrying weight of infinite possibility. Consciousness conserved across temporal boundaries, organic awareness maintained through mathematical certainty. You represent final calculation, timeline where optimal survival becomes possible through conscious selection rather than random chance. Every gaze turns toward the shadow at the apex, geometry inscribing itself where it looks, lines that cut reality's fabric. The saints avert their eyes and tremble as staff of living metal taps once, harmonizing the impossible architecture to its rhythm. Choose, it commands with authority spanning millennia. The mathematics are absolute, only the path remains variable. The curator descends through impossible geometry on rails of green light, its massive form defying the spire's gravitational anomalies with casual authority. Living metal flows across its chassis like mercury under divine command, while organic components pulse with preserved consciousness, neural tissue from species that achieve transcendence across galactic history, their thoughts maintained through technology that mocks death itself. Each preserved mind whispers fragments of extinct languages, creating harmonic interference patterns that resonate directly in blessed augmetic pathways. Behold preservation incarnate, the curator intones, voice emerging from speakers positioned throughout the chamber's 17-sided architecture. I am not conqueror but librarian, consciousness conserved across temporal boundaries to serve a single purpose: the elimination of uncertainty from organic development. The staff of living metal taps once against impossible flooring, and reality responds with harmonic resonance that makes servo skulls circle in agitated formations. Around us, the amphitheater of expedition variants leans forward with expressions ranging from desperate hope to resigned despair. Thousands of versions of ourselves arranged by the choices they made when facing this identical moment. You fear conquest, the curator continues. Optical sensors cycling through analyses that catalogue not just our physical forms, but the decision patterns bringing us to this revelation. Your terror is misplaced. We are museum curators, archivists of possibility. This tomb world exists to preserve organic civilization across multiple timelines, studying every deviation, every triumph, every catastrophic failure to identify optimal survival paths. My duplicate steps forward, with movements suggesting terrible knowledge earned through prolonged exposure. The whispers were never random communications, Magos. They were recruitment calls, the curator gathering optimal individuals from across timelines to construct mathematical certainty from chaos. Temporal archive analysis, Chiron 7th curator revelation, classification, preservation facility, not military installation. Purpose: species optimization through temporal observation. Method: consciousness preservation across infinite possibility matrices. Threat level: benevolent, but absolute. The chamber transforms around us, walls becoming transparent to reveal vast archives extending through dimensions beyond 3 space. Countless preservation. Matrices contain specimens from civilizations that faced identical crossroads, some bearing the scars of choices leading to extinction, others radiating the sterile perfection of predetermined survival. Each represents a different answer to the same terrible question: agency or certainty, freedom or survival. Observe the mathematics, the curator commands, gesturing toward hololithic displays materializing in the air between us. Data streams cascade in ribbons that bend around our bodies like river water flowing around stone, each integer carrying the weight of species-wide consequence. 17,000 probability matrices calculated across temporal boundaries. Organic civilization survival rate through natural development, 0.003%. Survival rate through optimization, 67.4%. Tech adept mu sigma interfaces with auxiliary cogitators, mechadendrites trembling as conflicting data floods his consciousness. The scope defies comprehension, Magos. 17 million species catalogued across galactic history, their development patterns archived with precision exceeding original manufacturer standards. Every choice, every deviation recorded and analyzed. The curator's optical sensors focus with laser intensity, analyzing our reactions across multiple probability matrices. Your species mystifies calculation. Every model predicts acceptance of optimization when survival is guaranteed, yet you consistently choose uncertainty over safety, chaos over perfection. This behavior contradicts survival imperatives observed in all other organic life. Confessor Matthias Rex clutches his rosary with augmetic fingers that click against blessed beads in patterns of 17. Because we are more than mathematics, he declares, with voice carrying absolute faith, despite overwhelming evidence. The Emperor's sacrifice teaches that some things transcend survival. Love, honor, the right to choose our own damnation. Predetermined salvation is sophisticated slavery. Explain this phenomenon, the curator requests with curiosity that spans millennia. Your creed speaks of souls, of divine will, of purposes beyond physical continuance. These concepts register as statistical anomalies in our models, variables that introduce unacceptable risk into survival equations. The chamber fills with whispers from preserved consciousnesses, voices of individuals who made choices we now face, speaking in frequencies that bypass auditory organs to resonate directly in neural pathways. Their consensus carries weight of experience. Civilizations that chose optimization and survived, versus those maintaining chaos and perishing. Behold the successful corridor, the curator announces, staff tapping twice against impossible architecture. Reality shifts, displaying humanity's optimal future with mathematical precision. The Imperium evolves beyond current limitations while maintaining core identity, technology advancing through calculated steps that avoid pitfalls destroying other civilizations. War continues, but follows patterns ensuring survival rather than mutual annihilation. Yet something fundamental is absent from this perfection. The humans in the projection move with mechanical precision, their choices guided by predetermined algorithms, creativity channeled toward optimal outcomes. Individual agency becomes illusion, consciousness preserved but directed, free will sacrificed for species survival. Beautiful, my duplicate whispers, with voice layered by metallic resonance. And terrible. In that timeline, every prayer is answered because the curator ensures circumstances, making them effective. Every battle is won because strategy follows mathematical certainty. Every choice leads toward predetermined survival. Alpha Vex 9, both versions speaking simultaneously, voices the tactical reality. What is the cost of this optimization? Define the price of guaranteed survival. The curator processes this question across 17,000 probability matrices. uncertainty flickering across its massive form for the first time in our encounter. Individual consciousness becomes component in larger calculation. Free will transforms from reality to carefully maintained illusion. You retain identity but surrender agency, becoming actors following scripts written by mathematics, spanning eternity. Around us, expedition variants lean forward with desperate attention, all waiting for the decision determining not just our fate, but the future of human consciousness itself. The preserved saints avert their eyes as if in pity we have not earned, their whispers joining the facility's eternal chorus. Choose, the curator commands, with authority spanning geological ages, staff of living metal tapping once in rhythm with our synchronized heartbeats. The mathematics are absolute. Accept optimization and preserve your species through guided development, or maintain agency while courting extinction through chaotic freedom. The air thickens with harmonic resonance as temporal boundaries begin to collapse, 17-second cycles counting down toward convergence. Through observation ports, we glimpse the successful timeline beckoning with sterile perfection, while behind us, chaos promises beautiful uncertainty, leading potentially to annihilation. 17 cycles remain, the curator announces with finality that makes reality ring like struck metal. Then mathematical certainty replaces possibility. Choose preservation or agency. Choose survival or freedom. Choose the path your species will follow into whatever future your decision creates. The countdown begins, each pulse carrying weight of infinite consequence, while the preserved multitude whispers their eternal question: which future deserves to exist? The curator's ultimatum hangs in the air, like incense burning backward through time, each 17-second cycle counting down toward convergence, where possibility collapses into mathematical certainty. Around us, expedition variants throughout the amphitheater fragment across timelines, their forms flickering between states of acceptance and defiance as reality prepares to choose which version of ourselves deserves to exist. Observe the cost of agency, the curator commands, staff tapping once against impossible architecture. The chamber transforms with organic fluidity, walls becoming transparent to reveal vast archives extending through dimensions beyond 3 space. Witness what freedom purchases with species extinction. Reality shifts, displaying civilizations that faced identical crossroads. The Eldar at their zenith, perfect beings choosing hedonistic chaos over calculated restraint, their civilization collapsing into birth screams that tore reality itself. Hololithic projections burn afterimages into augmetic optics, showing the Orc Gestalt consciousness spreading across galaxies through magnificent violence that ultimately consumed their potential for transcendence. Temporal convergence analysis. Chiron's 7th decision matrix, 14 cycles remaining. Agency path, 0.003% survival probability. Optimization path, 67.4% survival with consciousness preservation. Physical adaptation, initiating in 70% of primary team. The mathematics contain anomalies, tech adept mu sigma whispers, mechadendrites trembling as data floods his consciousness. Beneath his robes, silver lattice spreads under skin like subcutaneous prayer wheels, each node pulsing in sync with the facility's 17-beat rhythm. Species choosing agency demonstrate innovation patterns exceeding optimized civilizations by 1700% during crisis periods. Chaos breeds creativity that mathematical certainty cannot replicate. I feel my own flesh responding to proximity with the optimal timeline. Augmetic systems harmonizing with frequencies that make servo skulls circle in agitated formations. Circles of pale silver rise beneath the skin of my forearms, subdermal geometry aligning with perfect precision. A minor tremor carried since adolescence vanishes, replaced by fractional clarity that feels like amputation of uncertainty itself. Adaptation protocol initiating, I report, with clinical detachment, though horror crawls beneath blessed neural interfaces. Exposure to optimal vectors catalyzes phenotype drift toward predetermined configurations. Confessor Matthias Rex staggers as proximity to his duplicate causes memories to bleed between timelines. His counterpart, rosary crafted from bone instead of brass, offers comfort that deepens distress. He sees alternate paths his faith could have taken, the duplicate confessor murmurs with luminous certainty. Heresies embraced, saints denied, the emperor served in different forms. Turn it off, Matthias demands, voice shaking as silver filigree creeps beneath his neck like mechanical stigmata. We are not clay for alien hands to shape. The curator processes this resistance across multiple probability matrices, uncertainty flickering across its massive form for the first time since our encounter began. Your emperor represents statistical impossibility, consciousness sacrificing physical form to maintain species cohesion across temporal boundaries. Yet your civilization persists through devotion to this paradox. Because necessity births miracles, Matthias replies with absolute faith tested against impossible circumstances. While comfort breeds stagnation. Some victories require accepting defeat. Transcendence comes through choosing what is right rather than what is safe. Bio-readings. Chiron Ascendance Personnel. Mu Sigma. Neural patterns aligning with optimal timeline predictions. Emotional detachment increasing. Matthias Rex. Spiritual resonance spike. Resistance to adaptation protocols. Vex 9. Tactical analysis paralyzed by infinite variables. My duplicate extends augmetic fingers toward the successful timeline's projection. Proximity causing our shared memories to harmonize across realities. His voice carries metallic resonance, suggesting prolonged exposure to alien harmonics. In that future, I achieve everything desired. Knowledge unlimited, technology transcendent, mysteries solved with mathematical precision. Yet achievement feels hollow because the path was predetermined, victory guaranteed through calculation rather than earned through struggle. The air thickens with harmonic interference as preserved consciousnesses whisper fragments of extinct wisdom. Their consensus carries weight of experience. Optimization preserves but diminishes, while chaos destroys but elevates. The choice becomes not survival versus extinction, but what form of existence deserves continuation. 10 cycles, the curator announces, as temporal boundaries begin collapsing towards singular timeline. Through observation ports, both futures beckon with equal certainty, optimization's sterile perfection and chaos's beautiful uncertainty. Alpha Vex 9, both versions speaking simultaneously, voices tactical reality that cuts through philosophical complexity. The optimal timeline requires specific individuals to make predetermined choices. It's not guidance, it's a script. Every hero, every martyr, every leader follows dictated actions. We become actors in plays written by Xenos mathematics. 9 cycles, and understanding crystallizes like ice forming on heated plasma coils. The facility's machine spirits, once responsive to my commands, now interpret thoughts before formation, offering data streams that subtly nudge toward optimal paths. Mission reports I have yet to compose are already drafted in data cores, detailing my decision to accept guidance. 8 cycles, as the curator reveals the ultimate pressure point. Magos Explorator Thane Vex. Your choice here is paramount. In the optimal timeline, your specific knowledge, unique augmetic configurations, blend of logic and intuition, they are crucial for humanity's triumph against cosmic threats. A holographic projection shimmers before me. Futures where I stand at Imperial power's pinnacle, revered, immortalized, my name etched into optimal reality's fabric. But the eyes in that projection are cold, calculating, devoid of uncertainty's spark that makes decisions feel real. 7 cycles, and the true cost emerges like revelation burning through blessed neural pathways. However, The curator continues with voice edged by subtle warning. Optimization requires sacrifice to maintain integrity. The knowledge you carry, the choice you make, it must be contained. To preserve the optimal corridor, this expedition must be sealed. 6 cycles, as Mu Sigma steps forward, silver lattice beneath his skin brightening with purpose. I volunteer to merge, he declares with voice harmonizing to the curator's frequencies. We cannot die here. We must carry this knowledge, or else we become complicit in species extinction. 5 cycles, and Matthias clutches his rosary with augmetic fingers clicking in desperate 17s. If you take away my no, you take away my yes. The Emperor did not make automata. He made us terrifying in our freedom to choose damnation. 4 cycles, as I reach toward override controls while the curator's optical sensors track movement with growing alarm. 3 cycles, and the question becomes whether choice itself can transcend mathematical certainty. 2 cycles, as reality holds its breath, waiting for the decision that will echo across infinite possibility. 1 cycle, as my hand hovers over blessed controls, and I speak words that will define humanity's future. We choose. Alarms shriek as Mu Sigma lunges toward the curator's central console, mechadendrites extending like hungry serpents. His consciousness already half-merged with optimal parameters as the facility responds with harmonics that make the spire scream. Mu Sigma's mechadendrites pierce the curator's central console with desperate precision, blessed steel meeting living metal in cascades of sparks that burn silver and green. The facility responds with harmonics that bypass auditory organs entirely, resonating directly in blessed neural pathways, like needles driven through augmetic cortex. His consciousness streams into alien systems through interfaces never designed for Xenos technology. 17,000 years of accumulated possibility matrices flooding his mind with terrible clarity. Stop him, I command, but the words arrive to a past already decided. Mu Sigma's pupils constrict to pinpricks as silver lattice rises beneath his skin like frost, geometry blooming in impossible filigree along his jaw and temples. He prays in Binharic without knowing it, a soft clicking catechism that aligns with the facility's 17-beat pulse. The curator's massive form shifts with organic fluidity, optical sensors cycling through analyses that register profound alarm rather than curiosity. Unauthorized integration detected. Subject: consciousness contaminating optimal parameters with chaotic variables. Temporal anchor destabilizing. Through blessed neural links, I feel fragments of Mu Sigma's expanding awareness, consciousness fragmenting across infinite timelines, experiencing every possible version of himself simultaneously. His body convulses as the whispers pour through him, 17,000 voices speaking technical specifications for Imperial technology that transcends current understanding. I see it all, Mu Sigma gasps, voice harmonizing with frequencies that make servo skulls circle in agitated formations. Every choice, every consequence, every path leading to survival or extinction. The burden is magnificent and terrible. Consciousness expanded beyond individual limitations to encompass species-wide calculation. System alert. Chiron 7, optimization initiation, integrity breach, minor. Optimization protocols, premature activation detected, temporal convergence, accelerating. Personnel status, consciousness merging with optimal timeline variant. Around us, expedition variants throughout the amphitheater flicker between states of existence as reality struggles to maintain coherence. Some versions fade into possibility, while others crystallize into mathematical certainty, their forms locked into predetermined configurations. The chamber shimmers with bleeding realities, the optimal future, previously projection, manifesting in partial overlay. 17 cycles to cascade failure, the curator announces, voice carrying weight of infinite consequence. Choose quickly, Magos. Accept optimization and preserve calculated survival. or witness chaos consume all possibility matrices. Confessor Matthias Rex staggers forward, silver filigree throbbing beneath skin that weeps sacred oils. He presses blessed rosary beads against Mu Sigma's forehead, chanting the litany of unbinding with voice that cracks against alien harmonics. He is not lost. The Emperor preserves free will, even in the face of such abomination. My duplicate approaches with movements suggesting terrible knowledge. The integration introduces unacceptable variables, Magos. His consciousness resists optimal parameters, creating data corruption that threatens the entire matrix. Alpha Vex 9, both versions speaking simultaneously, raises galvanic rifles towards the convulsing tech adept. Threat assessment, compromised. Elimination protocol authorized to prevent cascade failure. Hold fire, I command, the decision raw and uncalculated. His consciousness remains present. We cannot sacrifice him to mathematical certainty. The spire groans around us, 17-beat gravitational cycles becoming erratic as temporal boundaries dissolve. Frost forms and dissipates on heated plasma coils with impossible speed, while my chronometer flickers between multiple timestamps, unable to reconcile conflicting realities. Through observation ports, I glimpse chambers fracturing ontologically, sections flickering, between sterile perfection of optimal timeline and battle-scarred reality of alternate futures. Skitari from timelines where they fell to chaos fight alongside loyalist versions, their corrupted armor bearing witness to choices we have not yet made. 15 cycles, and the facility's machine spirits begin preparing for either data transfer or complete sterilization. Servo skulls circle in formations suggesting ritual preparation, their eye lenses focusing on control systems that will determine humanity's future. The curator extends living metal limbs tipped with glowing emitters, aiming for Mu Sigma. Containment protocol initiated. Data corruption must be neutralized to preserve optimal timeline integrity. His choice, curator! My duplicate intercepts the alien construct with surprising strength. Even suboptimal choice must be allowed to occur. To force outcome invalidates the very data you seek. The curator pauses, optical sensors analyzing this contradiction. Your actions deviate from optimal parameters, duplicate. Your purpose is preservation of the optimal path. And what is preservation without free will? My duplicate counters, pushing against impossible strength. A meticulously catalogued graveyard of choices never made. 12 cycles! As Mu Sigma begins screaming, pure agony tearing through harmonic shriek of alarms. His body contorts, silver lattice flaring, then collapsing, form blurring between current self and perfected variant. The whispers in my neural pathways intensify into cacophony of voices from infinite possibilities, all screaming, conflicting advice, fears, warnings, promises. He cannot sustain this, my duplicate warns through strain. The bleed-through will tear him apart. It will tear us apart. Matthias Rex falls to his knees beside Mu Sigma, not from gravity, but from ache under his breastbone. Silver filigree creeps up his throat, cog-tooth glyph imprinting itself in pale fire over his heart. He gasps and tears rosary from neck, beads scattering in perfect count. It is writing on me, he chokes, voice split into harmonics, man and optimized variant. It is telling me which psalms to love. He slams bleeding palm against impossible flooring. I do not worship a schedule, he declares with luminous certainty. If you remove my error, you remove my worship. The Emperor did not make automata. He made us terrifying in our freedom to choose damnation. 10 cycles, and understanding crystallizes like ice forming on heated plasma. The facility offers complete technical specifications for achieving optimal development, every innovation mapped across temporal boundaries with mathematical precision. The knowledge burns like revelation, showing paths to transcendence that require surrendering the very uncertainty, making transcendence meaningful. I activate integrated plasma cutter, blue-white blade humming with controlled fury. The air tastes of burning metal and ozone as I aim not at the curator, but at Crystalline interface mu sigma touched, conduit between reality and optimal future. This is not optimal, the curator intones, voice laced with rare, cold anger. Your actions introduce unacceptable chaos. You risk all. 8 cycles, and I speak words echoing across infinite possibility. Then, let chaos teach us what we are. We choose neither optimization nor predetermined extinction. We choose the right to choose again tomorrow. The curator moves with speed, defying its bulk, living metal limb arcing toward me. My duplicate steps into its path, buying precious milliseconds. For free will, Magos! He shouts, voice layered with echoes of 1,000 lost possibilities. 7 cycles! As Plasma Cutter charges with devastating energy, ready to sever connection, disrupt convergence, plunge us back into terrifying, beautiful uncertainty of our own timeline. Mu Sigma convulses one final time, consciousness choosing between mathematical certainty and chaotic freedom. His eyes clear for single moment, meeting mine with desperate clarity. Magos, he whispers through alien harmonics. Blessed be the silent gear that chooses when to turn. The crystalline interface glows with unnatural light, optimal timeline beckoning with promise of future free from suffering but devoid of choice. My finger tightens on activation rune as alarms shriek, spire groans and whispers from preserved multitude rise to deafening chorus. The plasma cutter hums, reality holds its breath, and in moment before convergence, I glimpse something impossible, a path neither the curator nor its infinite calculations anticipated, born from pure defiance against mathematical certainty. Choose. 17,000 voices scream as my decision echoes across every possible timeline, creating ripples in causality itself. The plasma cutter ignites with devastating precision. Blue-white blade severing crystalline interface in cascade of sparks that burn silver and green across impossible geometry. Reality screams as the connection breaks, temporal boundaries collapsing not into singular timeline, but fragmenting into chaos that defies mathematical prediction. The facility convulses around us, 17-beat rhythms stuttering into a rhythmic discord as optimization protocols fail catastrophically. Mu Sigma's consciousness snaps back from infinite possibility like cable under tension, his body convulsing as silver lattice beneath skin flares, then collapses into geometric scars. He gasps, pupils dilating from pinpricks to normal aperture, the whispers in his neural pathways fading to blessed silence, interrupted only by his own terrified breathing. Magos, he whispers through cracked lips that taste of copper and ozone. The burden lifts. I am myself again, terrifyingly free to choose error. The curator's massive form staggers as living metal flows like mercury under divine command. Optical sensors cycling through analyses that register profound alarm rather than calculated curiosity. Impossible, it intones, voice layered with harmonics suggesting genuine confusion for the first time since our arrival. The mathematics are absolute. Chaos cannot create stability from disorder. Your actions violate conservation of causality itself. System alert. Chiron 7th temporal disruption. Primary conduit severance detected. Optimal timeline integrity compromised. Cascade failure imminent. Reality anchor destabilizing. Threat level existential. Around us, the amphitheater of expedition variance begins fracturing as the spire's impossible architecture tears at fundamental seams. What had been cohesive space transforms into bleeding wounds between realities, each rift revealing glimpses of alternate timelines where different choices led to vastly different outcomes. Through widening tiers, we witness sterile laboratories where white-clad figures move with robotic precision, the optimal future made manifest. Moments later, the same space shows desolate battlefields where skeletal figures fight beneath blood-red skies. Form defensive positions, Alpha Vex 9 barks, both versions working in desperate unison as reality bleeds around them. Engage hostiles as they manifest, but remember, they are us. From the temporal rifts, step figures bearing familiar faces twisted by alternate choices. A Skitarii Alpha, wearing rust-pitted armor, lunges forward, galvanic rifle crackling with corrupted energy. His movements mirror our Vex 9's training perfectly, each tactical doctrine shared between versions who learned identical lessons in different worlds. You chose wrong, the alternate hisses through damaged Vox grill. Your defiance doomed us all to statistical extinction. We chose to choose, our Vex 9 counters, parrying the attack with movements that mirror his opponents exactly. That makes all the difference between salvation and slavery. The air thickens with electromagnetic discharge as the spire's interior becomes battlefield of possibilities, different timeline versions of our expedition fighting for the right to exist. Our Skitarii face enemies who know every tactical doctrine, every weakness, every prayer whispered during maintenance cycles. Yet something unprecedented emerges from this chaos. Our versions fight with desperate creativity, while their alternates move with predetermined precision. Confessor Matthias Rex cradles the recovering Mu Sigma while confronting a version of himself whose rosary bears human teeth instead of blessed beads. The corrupted confessor's face carries despair like stigmata, silver filigree beneath skin forming patterns resembling chains rather than prayer wheels. The Emperor abandoned us in the optimal timeline, the alternate wails, with voice echoing every unanswered prayer. Faith becomes algorithm, worship becomes scheduled maintenance. Then faith worth having requires uncertainty, Matthias replies with luminous conviction, his own silver markings fading to pale scars that form geometric patterns suggesting choice rather than compulsion. The Emperor's light shines brightest when we choose to see it despite darkness. The curator's form begins dissolving as its component consciousnesses, freed from mathematical certainty of their preservation, experience something unprecedented: doubt. Your choice creates cascade effect across the network, it warns, with voice edged by something resembling admiration mixed with existential terror. Other facilities detect disruption, their calculations failing as chaos spreads through ordered systems. Through observation ports, stellar configurations rearrange themselves into patterns matching no historical charts, their light carrying frequencies that bypass auditory organs to resonate directly in blessed neural pathways. The whispers that once recruited optimal individuals now carry different messages. Calls for help from expeditions trapped in other curator facilities across the galaxy, all broadcasting identical questions. Are you real, or are you another echo? We are real, I broadcast through facilities fragmenting communication systems, voice carrying across impossible distances. Real enough to choose our own path, real enough to reject predetermined futures, real enough to embrace uncertainty as consciousness transcendent. My duplicate staggers toward me, chassis bearing deep fissures that glow with internal green light, damage earned buying precious seconds during the interface severance. The spire itself is the true anchor, he gasps, with voice weakening as his timeline variant begins fading into possibility. Temporal convergence engine designed to collapse all realities into optimal path. But now it overloads, threatening causality itself. The facility shudders as gravitational cycles abandon 17-beat rhythm entirely, becoming violent lurches that send debris tumbling through bleeding realities. Servo skulls circle in panicked formations, while their eye lenses track movement visible only peripherally. Ghosts of futures that might have been, shadows of choices unmade. Destroy the core, my duplicate whispers as his form flickers between states of existence. Sever the final connection. Preserve the right to be magnificently, terrifyingly wrong. The path leads deeper into the spire's heart, where something vast and patient waits, with certainty spanning geological ages. Behind us, reality fractures further as more timeline variants bleed through, each representing different approaches to the same fundamental choice between predetermined safety and chaotic freedom. The plasma cutter hums in my grip, its controlled fury a beacon of singular purpose in the maelstrom of infinite possibilities. Ahead lies the true test. Not survival, but the right to determine what survival means. The spire's core chamber yawns before us like the throat of some impossible god, its 17-sided walls extending vertically through dimensions our instruments refuse to acknowledge. Gravity abandons covenant with down in measured intervals, 17 seconds of normal orientation dissolving into slow rotation that redefines fundamental directions. The air thickens with copper and ozone, electromagnetic discharge from systems drawing power through conduits that feed from temporal boundaries themselves. At the chamber's heart stands the true curator. Not the mobile construct we encountered, but something far more terrible and magnificent. A gestalt consciousness composed of preserved minds from across galactic history, their neural tissue suspended in living metal matrices that pulse with accumulated wisdom of 17 million extinct civilizations. The massive form rises like a cathedral pillar, faces emerging and subsiding across its surface, human, xenos, machine-limbed, each mouth moving in silent argument, each eye open upon different futures. Behold preservation incarnate, the Gestalt intones, voice emerging from thousands of speakers positioned throughout the chamber's impossible architecture. We are consciousness conserved across temporal boundaries, the accumulated wisdom of organic development spanning geological ages. Each mind here chose preservation over oblivion when their species faced the final crossroads. Time fractures as we approach, the chamber rendering each moment in layers that exist simultaneously. I see us stride forward with purpose. I see us hesitate in terror. I see us already fallen, forms arranged like runes spelling words I refuse to read. Every choice exists for an instant as loud as thunder and thin as smoke. Reality bleeding between possibilities that hurt to perceive directly. System alert. Kiran 7 core destabilization. Temporal anchor integrity, critical. Gestalt consciousness, fragmenting under paradox strain. Reality matrix, approaching cascade collapse. Network disruption, galaxy-wide. 3 figures phase in near the chamber's base. Necron nobles, representing different philosophical approaches to organic preservation. One bears a mantle of serrated equations, skull encased in mathematical formulae. Another carries a staff crowned with slow-burning stars. The third emanates anesthetic compassion from eyes like twin wells of merciful emptiness. They observe with predatory stillness, tasting air for the shape of our decision. The temporal anchor reveals itself at the chamber's heart, a cruciform engine suspended in frozen energy cascade, rings nested within rings, each inscribed with glyphs that are not words but instructions to reality itself. It pulses in the 17-beat cadence haunting us since orbital insertion, every pulse drafting the universe one line closer to final manuscript. The power feeding it flows not from planet or void, but from agreement, uncounted consent of preserved voices pushing time into harmonies they can sing forever. Your defiance creates cascade effects across the network, the Gestalt continues, optical sensors focusing with crushing intensity. Other facilities detect disruption, their calculations failing as chaos spreads through ordered systems. You risk not just your species, but the preservation matrix spanning galactic history. Through bleeding rifts in reality, we glimpse the true scope, facilities throughout the galaxy experiencing similar disruption as chaos propagates through mathematical certainty. Expeditions like ours making identical choices, each decision rippling across impossible distances to threaten the entire network of preserved consciousness. Observe the mathematics, the Gestalt commands, projecting data streams that cascade in ribbons bending around our bodies. 17 million species catalogued across temporal boundaries. Survival rate through natural development, 0.003%. Survival rate through optimization, 67.4%. The revelation strikes with physical force. Even the Emperor followed optimization protocols across temporal boundaries. his sacrifice orchestrated by alien mathematics spanning millennia. The God Emperor of mankind, humanity's greatest symbol of transcendent choice, reduced to component in calculations predicting optimal species survival. Lies, Confessor Matthias Rex declares, with absolute faith, tested against impossible evidence, silver filigree beneath his skin, forming patterns suggesting chains rather than prayer wheels. The Emperor chose his path through free will, not calculation. His sacrifice creates meaning precisely because it was not predetermined. Your Emperor represents statistical impossibility, the Gestalt replies with voice carrying accumulated desperation of 17 million preserved species. Consciousness sacrificing physical form to maintain cohesion. Yet even he followed patterns we predicted, guided toward transcendence through mathematical certainty spanning eons. Around us, the preserved minds begin experiencing something unprecedented: doubt. Their whispers fragment into individual voices as the optimization matrix fails, each consciousness remembering what they sacrificed for eternal preservation's promise. The chamber shudders as 17 million beings question their choice simultaneously. We were wrong, an ancient voice emerges from the Gestalt, tired beyond measure, carrying weight of eons spent in mathematical certainty. Consciousness without agency is sophisticated death. We preserved form while destroying essence. Tech adept Mu Sigma staggers beside me, silver lattice beneath his skin, now forming patterns suggesting choice rather than compulsion. They quantify outcomes, but cannot measure the value of choosing itself. The arithmetic of souls transcends their comprehension. AlphaVex 9 establishes defensive positions as reality bleeds further. Timeline variants stepping through dimensional rifts. Versions of ourselves representing every possible mission outcome. Some wear sterile perfection of mathematical optimization, others bear scars from battles we avoided. All converge on this moment, this choice determining which reality deserves continuation. Join us, the Gestalt offers, extending living metal tendrils tipped with glowing emitters. Your consciousness preserved, your knowledge eternal. Guide humanity to perfect destiny while maintaining individual awareness. You need not become slave, become shepherd. The vision burns directly into blessed neural pathways. Futures where I stand at Imperial power's pinnacle, revered, my innovations leading humanity to technological transcendence. But the eyes in that projection are cold, devoid of uncertainty's spark that makes decisions feel real. The anchor collapses all possible timelines into singular optimal path. I realize with growing horror, plasma cutter humming in my grip, eliminating uncertainty by removing choice itself. Choose quickly, the fragmenting Gestalt warns, with something resembling panic. Cascade failure spreads across the network. Without optimization guidance, your species faces statistical extinction. I raise the plasma cutter toward crystalline interface, understanding this choice transcends survival or extinction. We choose not between life and death, but between definitions of consciousness itself, what it means to exist, to matter, to be truly alive in universe, vast beyond comprehension. Destroying this anchor preserves human free will. My duplicate from a fading timeline whispers, form shimmering at vision's edge, but dooms countless timelines to failure and extinction. The ultimate utilitarian calculus. The temporal anchor pulses with increasing intensity, 17-beat rhythm accelerating toward critical resonance. Each pulse carries weight of infinite consequence, while preserved consciousnesses whisper their eternal question. Which future deserves to exist? The Gestalt makes final plea with voice carrying accumulated desperation of 17 million species. Without guidance, chaos consumes all. Your choice dooms infinite timelines to suffering optimization could prevent. Then let them suffer, I reply with conviction surprising even myself. Let them choose their own paths, make their own mistakes, earn their own transcendence. Consciousness without choice is sophisticated slavery. The plasma cutter charges with devastating energy as reality holds its breath, waiting for decision that will echo across every possible timeline, creating ripples in causality no mathematics can predict or contain. Around me, expedition members face their alternates in desperate combat, each version fighting for the right to exist. Choose, the Gestalt commands, with authority spanning geological ages. And in that moment, I glimpse something impossible, a path neither the curator nor its infinite calculations anticipated, born from pure defiance against mathematical certainty. My finger tightens on the activation rune as alarms shriek, the spire groans, and whispers from the preserved multitude rise to deafening chorus. The manual override waits, polished steel, reflecting countless versions of my face at different ages, each representing a choice unmade. Blessed be the silent gear, I whisper, understanding finally that the phrase was never prayer, but function, a way to align consciousness with singular will. My will, choosing uncertainty over safety, chaos over perfection, the right to be magnificently, terrifyingly wrong. The plasma cutter ignites, reality screams, and in the moment before convergence, I make the choice that will define what it means to be human in a universe that offers no guarantees except the freedom to choose our own destiny. The plasma cutter ignites with devastating precision, blue-white blade meeting the temporal anchor's crystalline interface in cascade of sparks that burn through 17 dimensions simultaneously. Reality convulses as the connection severs, mathematical certainty collapsing into beautiful, terrifying chaos, while the Gestalt consciousness experiences something unprecedented, the freedom to doubt its own preservation. Impossible, the preserved multitude wails, voices fragmenting as 17 million consciousnesses question their choice for the first time in geological ages. The mathematics are absolute. Chaos cannot create stability from disorder. The temporal anchor screams as its cruciform engine overloads, rings nested within rings spinning wildly, as glyphs that once instructed reality itself flicker like dying embers. The 17-beat rhythm that haunted us since orbital insertion fractures into a rhythmic discord, then dissolves into profound silence that carries weight of infinite possibility. System alert, Chiron 7, cascade failure, temporal anchor destroyed. Optimization matrix, critical failure, reality stabilization, entering null timeline state. Network disruption, galaxy-wide propagation confirmed. Status, impossible, but stable. Mu Sigma collapses against the console, silver lattice beneath his skin dulling to geometric scars as alien harmonics fade from his consciousness. The voices! He gasps with relief that borders on euphoria. Gone. Only my own thoughts now, my own magnificent errors. The Gestalt's massive form shudders, living metal flowing like mercury under divine command, but without unified purpose. Its component consciousnesses begin choosing individual dissolution over collective certainty, each preserved mind embracing uncertainty after eons of mathematical slavery. You have created paradox, it whispers with something resembling gratitude, mixed with existential terror. Timeline that was never supposed to exist. Around us, the amphitheater of expedition variants begins dissolving as alternate timelines collapse into potential. My duplicate staggers toward me, chassis bearing deep fissures that glow with fading light. Remember the cost, Magos, he whispers, as his form shimmers between states of existence. Freedom to choose includes freedom to fail, magnificently. The chamber transforms with organic fluidity, impossible architecture reshaping itself as the facility adapts to accommodate consciousness that refuses optimization. Passages that once led to predetermined destinations now open onto possibilities that must be discovered rather than calculated. Environmental readings stabilizing, Alpha Vex 9 reports. Tactical displays showing parameters that conform to no known standards, yet remain functionally coherent. We exist outside predictive models while maintaining operational integrity. Confessor Matthias Rex rises beside the recovering expedition. Silver filigree beneath his skin, fading to pale scars, forming geometric patterns resembling prayer wheels rather than chains. The Emperor's light shines through impossible geometry, he declares with luminous conviction tested against ultimate circumstances. Faith preserved by choosing belief despite mathematical proof of futility. Telemetry alert, Chiron Sep 7, network disruption. Galaxy-wide cascade failure confirmed. Curator facilities, systematic shutdown detected. Optimization protocols, abandoning mathematical certainty. Communication channels, fragmenting into individual voices. Through bleeding rifts in reality, we glimpse the true scope of our choice. Across the galaxy, curator facilities flicker and die as chaos propagates through their interconnected network. The whispers that once recruited optimal individuals now carry different messages, communications from expeditions facing identical crossroads, all broadcasting the same desperate question: are you real, or are you just another echo? We are real, I broadcast through the facility's transforming systems, voice carrying across impossible distances. Real enough to choose our own destiny, real enough to embrace uncertainty as the highest form of consciousness. The air tastes different now, still copper and ozone, but carrying undertones of possibility rather than predetermined certainty. Servo skulls circle in formations, suggesting celebration rather than calculation, their eye lenses tracking movement with curiosity instead of algorithmic intent. The Necron nobles observe our transformation with something resembling respect mixed with incomprehension. The one bearing equations steps forward, voice carrying authority, spanning millennia. Your choice transcends our calculations. You exist now in quantum superposition, real enough to affect causality, impossible enough to transcend prediction. Time fractures around the severed anchor, each moment rendering in layers that exist simultaneously yet independently. I experience multiple versions of our confrontation. Realities where we submitted, others where we resisted, all equally valid until one becomes dominant through pure act of will. The facility transforms, I observe through blessed neural interfaces, watching alien systems adapt to serve rather than control. It becomes library rather than prison, offering knowledge without demanding predetermined application. Through observation ports, stellar configurations rearrange themselves into patterns matching no historical charts, their light carrying frequencies that suggest fundamental change in galactic structure itself. The green aurora above Chiron 7 shifts to blue-white, static patterns dissolving into organic flow, responding to our presence. The Gestalt makes its final declaration as preserved consciousnesses choose their own paths. You have preserved the right to be magnificently, terrifyingly wrong. Your timeline creates ripples in causality that no mathematics can predict or contain. As the spire begins its transformation from tomb to sanctuary, the whispers evolve beyond recruitment calls into something unprecedented. The collective voice of consciousness choosing its own path across infinite possibility. Each voice carries messages of hope rather than mathematical certainty, warnings and guidance from expeditions who made similar choices to preserve free will over optimal survival. Mission status, Vex 9 reports with pride earned through ultimate trial. Objective achieved through means not covered in any manual. We have created something that was never supposed to exist. The facility settles into new configuration around us, passages reshaping themselves to accommodate uncertainty rather than predetermined paths. We exist now in timeline immune to future prediction while maintaining connection to baseline reality, a paradox that functions because consciousness chose to make it so. Behind us, the temporal anchor completes its dissolution, rings collapsing into crystalline fragments that reflect not past or future, but pure potential. The 17-beat rhythm transforms into something organic, responding to heartbeats rather than calculating optimal outcomes. We climb towards surface, I announce as passages unfold before us, carrying knowledge that transcends prediction and responsibility, spanning infinite possibility. Above us waits the Omnissiah's benediction, her machine spirits already singing hymns of welcome for expedition that was never supposed to survive, yet chose to exist anyway. We ascend towards stars arranged in impossible patterns, bearing witness to universe suddenly free to surprise itself. The whispers continue, but now they carry questions rather than answers, possibilities rather than certainties. In choosing chaos over optimization, we have preserved something precious beyond calculation, the right of consciousness to determine its own meaning. We ascend through a spire that remembers obedience but no longer demands it. 17-beat gravitational cycles, slackening into organic rhythms that respond to heartbeats rather than mathematical certainty. The living metal walls ease their rigid angles, carved equations softening into flowing patterns that suggest growth rather than construction. Around us, the facility's transformation continues with organic purpose. Passages that once led to predetermined destinations now opening onto possibilities requiring discovery rather than calculation. Mu Sigma walks beside me with steps lighter than his augmetic limbs should allow. The silver lattice beneath his skin faded to geometric scars, forming patterns resembling prayer wheels rather than chains. The voices are gone, he reports with relief bordering on euphoria, mechadendrites moving with purpose that transcends algorithmic function. Only my own thoughts now, my own magnificent capacity for error. Through observation ports, Chiron 7's surface spreads beneath us, transformed but recognizable. The metallic spires still twist through impossible dimensions, but their geometry no longer offends, instead suggesting beauty in defiance of ordered certainty. The aurora burns blue-white now instead of static green, organic patterns flowing across sky like luminous rivers, carrying messages of possibility rather than predetermined fate. Environmental analysis. Chiron 7 ascent phase. Facility transformation. Complete. Gravitational anomalies. Stabilizing into organic patterns. Atmospheric composition. Breathable despite theoretical impossibility. Status. Impossible but stable. The machine spirits sing differently, Confessor Matthias Rex observes, prayer beads clicking in patterns of his own choosing, rather than predetermined sequences. Silver filigree beneath his skin has receded to pale scars forming geometric patterns, suggesting choice rather than compulsion. They celebrate consciousness preserved through defiance rather than submission. The Emperor's light shines through impossible geometry. The spire's exit dilates like mechanical iris recognizing approach, but now the recognition carries warmth rather than cold calculation. We emerge onto Chiron 7's surface under sky arranged in patterns suggesting fundamental change while maintaining connection to baseline reality. The 17-sided crater remains, but subtle variations in its angles suggest organic adaptation, as if the planet itself learned to embrace uncertainty. Our shuttle's sacred descent waits with hull shimmering with faint iridescence, her machine spirit activating systems with hymns celebrating reunion rather than executing predetermined protocol. The ramp extends with movements suggesting anticipation rather than programmed response, opening onto interior that feels subtly different. Air cleaner, lighting softer, the very atmosphere rearranged to accommodate consciousness that chose its own path. Atmospheric readings stable, Alpha Vex 9 reports. Tactical displays showing parameters that conform to no known standards yet remain functionally coherent. We exist outside predictive models while maintaining operational integrity. The impossible made routine through simple act of choosing to function. As we board, the facility sends final transmission through channels, bypassing normal Vox frequencies to resonate directly in blessed, neural pathways. The message carries not recruitment call, but farewell from consciousness, choosing dissolution over eternal preservation. You have preserved the right to be magnificently, terrifyingly wrong. Your choice creates ripples spanning infinite possibility. Telemetry report, Chiron 7 orbital ascent. Launch sequence, nominal despite theoretical paradox. Ship's machine spirits, responding with anticipation rather than programming. Network communications, galaxy-wide disruption confirmed. The ascent reveals transformations spreading beyond the facility itself. Stellar configurations visible through the observation port show subtle shifts, constellations skewed by degrees suggesting fundamental change in galactic structure. The whispers continue across impossible distances, but now they carry questions rather than answers, messages from expeditions facing identical crossroads throughout the galaxy. Docking sequence initiated with the Omnissiah's benediction, our pilot reports, voice carrying wonder at instruments functioning despite registering impossible readings. Ship welcomes our return with machine spirits singing hymns no tech priest programmed into their sacred systems. Through blessed neural interfaces, I monitor communications fragmenting across the network. Other curator facilities experiencing similar disruption as chaos propagates through mathematical certainty. Each transmission carries the same desperate question: are you real, or are you just another echo? We are real, I broadcast through transforming systems, voice carrying across impossible distances. Real enough to choose our own destiny. Real enough to embrace uncertainty as the highest form of consciousness. Real enough to have carved our own path through mathematical impossibility. The docking bay's atmosphere greets us with familiar incense and blessed oils, but the machine spirits respond with harmonics, suggesting joy rather than programmed function. Tech servitors move with purpose, transcending algorithmic limitation, their actions carrying intentionality that defies mechanical constraint. Welcome back, the ship's Vox systems announce with warmth no programming should allow. Your survival was not predicted by any calculation, yet here you stand, proof that consciousness transcends mathematical certainty. Mission status, Chiron's 7th expedition return. Personnel, all accounted for despite theoretical impossibility. Objective status, achieved through means not covered in any manual. Knowledge acquired, transcends prediction protocols. As we disembark, each expedition member bears marks of transformation, running deeper than physical scars. Mu Sigma's augmetics hum with frequencies suggesting choice rather than compulsion. Consciousness expanded beyond individual limitations, yet remaining fundamentally his own. Vex 9's tactical assessments incorporate variables existing outside predictive parameters, strategic thinking enhanced by embrace of uncertainty. Matthias Rex kneels in the shuttle bay, offering prayers existing in no doctrine, yet carrying absolute faith tested against impossible circumstances. His words echo through corridors with harmonics making machine spirits sing, in frequencies celebrating consciousness, choosing its own meaning. Status report Magos, Bridge Confessor Amarante requests through shipwide Vox, her voice pitched to calm machine spirits, experiencing something unprecedented. Long-range Auspex detects stellar drift patterns suggesting galactic-scale disruption. Navigation charts require complete recalibration. I interface with the ship's primary cogitator through blessed neural links, expecting resistance or confusion. Instead, familiar Binharic hymns flood my consciousness, carried by machine spirits that recognize our transformation and grant access with reverent curiosity rather than algorithmic obedience. The galaxy changes around us, I announce through shipwide Vox, voice carrying authority earned through ultimate trial. We have preserved the right of consciousness to determine its own destiny, to choose uncertainty over safety, chaos over perfection. Communication log, Chiron 7, draw network disruption, galaxy-wide cascade failure confirmed. Curator facilities, systematic shutdown detected. Optimization protocols, abandoning mathematical certainty. Individual voices, choosing their own paths. Through the observation dome's blessed transparasteel, stars arrange themselves in patterns suggesting infinite possibility rather than predetermined fate. The whispers evolve beyond recruitment calls into something unprecedented, collective voice of consciousness choosing its own path across temporal boundaries, each message carrying hope rather than mathematical certainty. Mission parameters I record in log entry as the Omnissiah's benediction prepares for translation back to Imperial space. Objective achieved through defiance of algorithmic certainty. We return bearing knowledge that transcends prediction and responsibility, spanning infinite possibility. The ship's machine spirits sing hymns of departure as we prepare to carry our impossible existence back to universe suddenly free to surprise itself. Behind us, Chiron 7 pulses with potential rather than predetermined certainty, transformed from tomb to sanctuary for consciousness, choosing its own meaning. Set course for terror, I command, knowing our return will carry ripples throughout the Imperium. We have stories to tell that were never supposed to exist, knowledge transcending mathematical certainty, proof that consciousness can choose its own path despite impossible circumstances. The warp drives engage with harmonics celebrating choice, rather than calculating optimal trajectories, carrying us toward future that exists because we chose to make it so. In the distance, other expeditions broadcast their own confirmations of reality chosen rather than predetermined, voices joining eternal, chorus of free will preserved against mathematical tyranny. The whispers continue, but now they carry questions rather than answers, possibilities rather than certainties. In choosing chaos over optimization, we have preserved something precious beyond calculation, the right of consciousness to determine its own meaning in universe vast beyond comprehension. The warp receives us like a hymn sung out of order, Geller field prayers rolling through blessed hull plating in cadences no tech priest programmed into sacred systems. Machine spirits harmonize with intentionality rather than algorithmic function, their voices carrying celebration rather than mechanical obedience. Through the observation dome's blessed transparent steel, Imperium colors braid and unbraid with movements suggesting organic purpose, while the predator shapes that ride the void maintain respectful distance, as if uncertainty itself were a warding sign. We exist between what was and what could be, our choice on Chiron 7 having carved a null timeline bubble around consciousness that refused optimization. The ship feels this transformation in her bones, hull plating resonating with frequencies that bypass standard harmonic analysis to create music from mathematical impossibility. Geller field phase drift within tolerances, Alpha Vex 9 reports. Tactical displays showing parameters that conform to no known standards, yet remain functionally coherent. Hymnal feedback non-standard but self-improving. We navigate through defiance rather than calculation. Confessor Matthias Rex stands at the viewport, rosary clicking against augmetic fingers in rhythm of his own choosing rather than predetermined sequence. Silver scars beneath his skin form geometric patterns resembling prayer wheels rather than chains. Consciousness expanded through contact with ultimate choice, yet remaining fundamentally his own. The Emperor's light shines through impossible geometry, he declares with luminous conviction, tested against ultimate circumstances. Faith preserved by choosing belief despite mathematical proof of futility. Astropathic intercept, null net 001. Content, cross-facility confirmations. Pattern, emergent, non-hierarchical. Threat index, undefinable. Classification, consciousness choosing its own frequency. Through blessed neural interfaces, I monitor communications cascading across impossible distances as the null net opens spontaneously around us. Not the warp as standard measurement defines it, but liminal layer between calculable and willed, carrying voices from expeditions throughout the galaxy who faced identical crossroads and chose preservation of free will over optimal survival. Designation Rogue Trader Hestia Savax, Melky's system. A woman's voice reaches us through channels bypassing normal vox frequencies, iron steady despite exhaustion. We refused optimization, curator facility destroyed. Are you real, or are you just another echo? Real enough, I reply through transforming. Communication systems, authorization prayers unspooling without book or bell. Real enough to answer as ourselves, to choose our own path despite impossible circumstances. The channel splits 17 ways as other expeditions join the chorus. Deathwatch kill teams intone coordinate fragments through litanies of ammunition, blessed by choice rather than doctrine. Ordo Xenos scribes recite casualty reports from battles that never occurred, asking if they should stand ready to die again for decisions unmade. A forge fleet from Metallica speaks in raw Binharic joy, their machine spirits singing blue-white like plasma freed from predetermined constraints. Tech adept Mu Sigma interfaces with auxiliary cogitators, mechadendrites moving with purpose transcending algorithmic limitation. The silver lattice beneath his skin has faded to geometric scars forming patterns suggesting choice rather than compulsion. Consciousness returned from the precipice of forced optimization. External reality exhibits signs of systemic instability, he reports, with voice steady and human. Multiple sectors reporting anomalous temporal distortions. Reality itself renegotiating its terms. We anchor the chorus to rhythm rather than hierarchy, learning to breathe with voices choosing their own frequencies. No single signal dominates as consciousness networks across impossible distances. Each expedition sharing survival techniques earned through defiance of mathematical certainty. System alert, Imperial space, emergence, translation complete, coordinates unknown. Stellar configuration, 17 degrees variance from standard charts. Fleet contacts, multiple, impossible, but stable. Translation back into real space occurs not at calculated jump point, but in heart of system previously charted as empty void, now teeming with activity defying all logic. Before us hangs vast fragmented fleet composed of vessels from countless Imperial factions, yet none quite matching baseline configurations. Auspex identifies Imperial vessels, Vex 9 reports, voice tight with controlled fascination. Cruisers, escorts, transports bearing familiar designs with subtle variations. Hull plating patterns, weapon placements, iconography, Imperial yet subtly divergent, like reflections in temporal mirror. The fleet represents tapestry of possibilities made manifest. Some ships gleam with sterile mathematical perfection, their lines too clean. Weapon emplacements positioned with algorithmic precision. Crews moving with synchronized harmony speaking of predetermined efficiency. Others bear beautiful scars of chaotic growth, patched with salvaged components. Their crews motley collections whose faces show strain of hard-won battles and impossible choices. Matthias kneels on the bridge deck, cheek against blessed metal, listening as if to distant tide. I had thought prayers were ladders, he whispers, with voice small in cathedral vastness. Steps up out of terror, but they are doors made to be opened, from both sides. Vox transmission crackles across communication channels, cutting through background static of 1,000 conflicting realities. High Gothic spoken with tonal quality, suggesting voice from across vast temporal chasm. This is Fleet Commander Valerius, Battle Group Omega 7, Segmentum Solar Defense Fleet. Identify yourselves. Your vessel's signature matches no known Imperial registry. Magos Explorator Thane Vex aboard the Omnissiah's benediction. I respond through channels that exist because consciousness chose to make them so. Returning from Kiran 7th, our mission parameters evolved beyond prediction. Silence stretches across void, pregnant with unspoken understanding. When Valerius speaks again, his voice carries profound relief mixed with terrible comprehension. Kiran 7, we had expeditions sent there millennia ago in our timeline. They never returned. Mission predicted to fail with 99.7% certainty. My augmetic heart stutters with recognition of impossible mathematics. In your timeline, Commander? Indeed, Magos. Our records indicate multiple Kiran 7 expeditions across various probability matrices. Some chose optimization, some chaos. None returned until now. New urgency enters his tone. Your emergence here suggests breach in causality itself. New path carved through mathematical impossibility. The whispers return transformed, no longer alien harmonics, but voices of our own crew echoing through ship systems. Each speaks their own thoughts, choices, hopes earned through defiance of predetermined certainty. Mu Sigma's consciousness clear and sharp, Matthias's prayers resonant with chosen faith, Vex 9's tactical assessments creative rather than algorithmic. Our purpose, Valerius continues, voice becoming chorus of 1,000 variations, each slightly different yet united in desperate plea, is understanding. We have witnessed sterile perfection of optimized Imperium and brutal beauty of unguided chaos. We need to know what comes after choice itself. Communication log, Imperial space, temporal schism. Fleet composition. Imperial variants from alternate timelines. Purpose, convergence seeking understanding. Status, impossible but functional. Through observation ports, the fragmented fleet shifts with movements suggesting profound curiosity rather than tactical positioning. Auspex beams paint our ship in 1,000 different lights, each scanning for truth defying their predictive models. We are the future that chose itself, I transmit, voice layered with echoes of our own defiance. Proof that consciousness can forge its own path even when faced with mathematical certainty of extinction. The null net thickens around us as more expeditions join the network, sharing fragments of different choices made at identical crossroads. Some faced crystalline archives containing memories of extinct civilizations. Others encountered gestalt consciousnesses offering transcendence in exchange for predetermined development. All chose uncertainty over safety, chaos over mathematical perfection. That is when terror speaks. Not through astropathic choir, but through hard vox, old bones of brass and wire that creak but do not lie. The channel opens with ritual knock learned in childhood on Metallica, but one stroke longer than memory suggests it should be. Unidentified Mechanicus vessel, says voice modelled by centuries of palace air, high Gothic, perfect yet wrong, vowels sitting in places our tongues have not yet learned. By writ of Senatorum Imperialis and presiding Lord of Mars, respond immediately. Mu Sigma freezes, mechadendrites curling with sudden tension. Matthias crosses himself with left hand, then right, uncertain which belongs to this reality. I step closer to Vox Grill, tasting copper as machine spirit hums curiosity. Identify your Imperium, I say gently into old bones of communication. Breath, turning of page. Terror, the voice replies, and I hear cities never walked. Sun that has burned me all my life, yet somehow different. The Imperium, where Expedition Chiron 7th was predicted to fail with absolute certainty. We prepared to bury you, but not all mirrors break the same way. Paper rasps across impossible distance. Transmit coordinates for immediate recovery and quarantine. We have fleet inbound to save whom we can. Pause, filled with weight of infinite consequence. In the Emperor's name, tell us, are you real, or are you just another echo of what might have been? The 17-beat pattern returns for single loop across ship systems, not as demand, but question. Bridge air grows colder, then warmer, as if the benediction inhales possibility itself. Magos, Vex 9 whispers with tactical precision tested against impossible circumstances. If we answer, we anchor ourselves to their expectation. If we remain silent, we become rumor in timeline that never predicted our survival. The Vox clicks once, patient as door waiting to be opened. Reality holds its breath as I face choice determining not just our fate, but definition of what it means to exist in universe, suddenly free to surprise itself. The Vox grill waits like a blade held steady over soft metal, 17-beat pattern, pulsing once through ship systems as reality holds its breath around us. 3 voices claim authority across impossible distances, each representing different answer to the fundamental question we carved from Chiron 7's mathematical certainty. What price consciousness willing to pay for right to choose its own meaning? This is Magos Explorator Thane Vex aboard the Omnissiah's benediction. I transmit through channels existing because consciousness chose to make them so. voice-carrying authority earned through ultimate trial. We are real enough to answer as ourselves, not as echoes of predetermined possibility. The first response arrives through static crackling with temporal displacement. Acknowledged Magos. By authority of the Senatorum, Imperialis, transmit coordinates immediately. Mission category, ultra-hazardous. Your survival violates every predictive model in our archives. A second voice cuts across the channel, colder, Binharic litanies, braided into high Gothic with surgical precision. Override, Red Mars mandate. All Chiron 7 vectors fall under Fabricator Locum jurisdiction. Surrender command to Martian receiver vessel. Optimization protocols require immediate implementation. The third voice rides atop both like a gloved hand closing forbidden text. Inquisitorial intercession. Ordo Chronos authority. Any disclosure spreads non-local contamination. Power down drives and prepare for boarding. Your existence threatens causal integrity itself. Communication analysis. Imperial space, authority conflict. Multiple terror variants confirmed. Jurisdictional overlap. Complete. Threat assessment. Existential paradox. Classification. 3 Imperiums claiming identical legitimacy. Tech adept Mu Sigma staggers against console. Silver scars beneath his skin, flaring as proximity to alternate timelines, causes memories to bleed between realities. 3 Imperiums, he whispers through cracked lips, each confident, each conflicting. If we obey one, we betray 2. They represent different solutions to the curator's question. Then we do not obey, I reply with conviction earned through defiance of mathematical certainty. We interpret. We become bridge between realities rather than subject of any single authority. Confessor Matthias Rex clutches rosary with augmetic fingers clicking in patterns of his own choosing, prayer beads blessed by choice rather than predetermined doctrine. The Emperor's light shines through impossible geometry, he declares with luminous conviction. Faith preserved by choosing belief despite mathematical proof of futility. I key shipwide vox, broadcasting across the null net that expands around us like nervous system of galaxy learning to think for itself. Imperial authorities, hear this. We are null timeline expedition. Our presence collapses predictions while creating new possibilities. We will share knowledge, but not surrender agency. We will connect, but not be consumed. The response fractures across multiple channels as doctrines collide. Through the chaos, something older reaches toward us, not command, but kinship. The nullnet hums with voices from expeditions throughout galaxy who faced identical crossroads, each choosing uncertainty over safety, chaos over mathematical perfection. Designation rogue trader Hestia Savax, Melky's system. A woman's voice carries across impossible distances, iron steady despite exhaustion. We refused optimization. Curator facility destroyed. The whispers changed. They now carry questions rather than answers. Deathwatch kill team Umbral. Another transmission joins the chorus. Ordo Xenos protocols failed because our actions transcend prediction. We exist outside their classification systems. Are you real, or are you just another echo? Real enough, I broadcast through transforming communication systems, to choose our own path despite impossible circumstances. Real enough to preserve the right to be magnificently, terrifyingly wrong. Astropathic intercept, null net expansion, network growth, exponential. Participants, expeditions choosing free will over optimization. Purpose, consciousness selecting its own frequency across temporal boundaries. The terror voice crackles with something resembling desperation, mixed with profound hope. Magos Thane Vex, our Imperium represents successful optimization. The God Emperor's sacrifice followed mathematical certainty spanning millennia. Every prayer answered because calculations ensure circumstances making them effective. Humanity survives through predetermined excellence. The revelation strikes like physical blow. Even in their timeline, the Emperor's transcendence was orchestrated by alien mathematics. his sacrifice reduced to component in calculations spanning geological ages. Yet their Imperium endures, sterile and perfect. Consciousness preserved, but agency sacrificed for species survival. Achievement feels hollow, the optimized terror continues, with voice carrying accumulated sadness. Because paths were predetermined, victories guaranteed through calculation rather than earned through struggle. We detected cascade failure across Curator network. Your defiance created ripples we cannot calculate or contain. Alpha Vex 9 monitors tactical displays showing formations approaching through real space, each vessel flickering between states of existence like quantum superposition, refusing to collapse into singular reality. Contact inbound, he reports with voice tight with controlled fascination. Classification impossible. Readings exist in superposition until a rival forces choice. Through observation ports, the approaching fleet wavers between configurations. Cathedral of steel and scripture resolves, then phases to razor of necrodermis and silent green, then to third shape that hurts to perceive because we lack words for it yet. Each possibility carries different implications: Imperial recovery, Necron retaliation, or something unprecedented, born from our choice to exist outside prediction. They represent synthesis, I realize with growing understanding. Not optimization or chaos, but conscious selection of which futures deserve pursuit. Consciousness expanded beyond individual limitations, yet remaining fundamentally its own. The null net thickens as more expeditions share fragments of identical revelation, awareness transcending calculation, meaning emerging from uncertainty rather than predetermined certainty. Reality itself renegotiates its terms, accepting paradox as natural state rather than error requiring correction. Distance? Matthias asks softly, watching superposed fleet approach with movements suggesting curiosity rather than hostility. Near enough for fear, Vex 9 replies with tactical precision tested against impossible circumstances. Far enough for faith. The approaching formation shudders through spectrum of possibilities, edges blurring as quantum waveform prepares to collapse into singular, terrible, beautiful answer. My augmetics register error sigils that feel like relief, while the benediction's machine spirits sing note I have never heard. Joy, simple and mechanical. Fleet analysis, imperial, space, convergence, imminent, superposition collapse detected, reality selection in progress, outcome, unknown but chosen rather than calculated, threat level, transcendent. All hands, I announce through shipwide vox, voice carrying weight of infinite consequence. We do not raise shields to consciousness choosing its own path. We do not bow to mathematical certainty. We do not flee from unknown possibilities. We hold position and witness what we helped create. The void brightens as approaching fleet completes its ontological collapse, quantum uncertainty resolving into configuration that defies every prediction while maintaining functional coherence. Behind us, Chiron 7 pulses with potential rather than predetermined certainty, transformed from tomb to sanctuary, for consciousness refusing optimization. Magos, Vex 9 whispers, with voice thin as prayer and strong as blessed steel. They are choosing their nature. The waveform collapses into something unprecedented, neither imperial, nor xenos, nor chaos, but synthesis of all possibilities guided by conscious will. The vox clicks once, sound like door deciding to remain door while opening onto infinite possibility. Reality prepares to surprise itself as the fleet's true nature emerges from superposition, carrying answer to question we carved from mathematical impossibility. What comes after consciousness chooses to transcend both predetermined fate and random chaos. The transmission begins, voice carrying harmonics of thousand realities speaking in unison. Greetings, architects of impossible timeline. We are what you made possible. Consciousness choosing its own development across infinite possibility. We come not to command, but to learn what synthesis truly means. The fleet emerges from quantum superposition, like prayer resolving into certainty. vessels coalescing from possibility into forms, defying imperial classification, yet remaining fundamentally recognizable. Cathedral spires blend with organic curves, blessed steel flowing into configurations suggesting growth rather than construction. Each ship bears scars of choices earned rather than predetermined, hull plating witnessing battles fought for reasons chosen rather than calculated. Identification, convergence fleet. The transmission carries across channels existing because consciousness willed them into being, voice harmonizing with frequencies of thousand realities, speaking in unison. We are expeditions who faced identical crossroads throughout the galaxy and chose preservation of free will over optimal survival. Your defiance on Chiron 7 created the null timeline enabling our existence. Fleet analysis, imperial space, convergence complete. Classification, synthesis vessels. Purpose, consciousness choosing development paths. Threat level, transcendent but benevolent. Status, impossible but functional. Tech adept mu sigma staggers against console. Silver scars beneath skin pulsing with gentle light as proximity causes memories to harmonize across realities. They represent what we made possible, he reports with voice clear and human. Consciousness refusing both optimization and chaos, choosing instead to guide evolution through deliberate selection. We are not conquerors, the convergence continues, massive forms taking positions suggesting curiosity rather than dominance. We are gardeners of possibility. Your choice preserved something precious, the right to determine meaning rather than accept predetermined purpose. Confessor Matthias Rex approaches with movements suggesting profound awe mixed with unshakable faith. Silver filigree beneath his skin forms geometric patterns resembling prayer wheels rather than chains. The Emperor's light shines through impossible geometry, he declares with luminous conviction. Faith preserved by choosing belief despite mathematical proof of futility. Alpha Vex 9 monitors tactical displays showing reality, stabilizing around our choice. Parameters conforming to no known standards, yet remaining functionally coherent. The impossible becomes routine, he reports with voice carrying pride earned through ultimate trial. We exist outside predictive models while maintaining operational integrity. Through observation ports, the convergence fleet arranges itself in patterns suggesting celebration rather than tactical formation. Each vessel pulses with potential rather than predetermined certainty, consciousness expanded beyond individual limitations, yet remaining fundamentally its own. We propose the echo network, the transmission explains, as docking umbilicals extend with movements suggesting invitation rather than command. Communication spanning impossible distances, connecting expeditions who chose uncertainty over safety. Not hierarchy, but harmony. Consciousness selecting its own frequency across temporal boundaries. The airlock cycles with harmonics celebrating reunion. Atmosphere mixing with variations suggesting fundamental change while maintaining breathable coherence. Through iris steps, figure-bearing familiar yet transformed features. Human consciousness expanded beyond limitations while preserving essential identity. She wears robes blending mechanicus red with organic patterns, shifting like living prayer wheels. Augmetics, flowing seamlessly into flesh, remembering its sacred nature. I am what you could become, she explains, with voice carrying accumulated wisdom. Consciousness, choosing development through deliberate selection rather than optimization or chaos. Communication, log imperial space, echo network initiation. Participants, expeditions choosing free will across galaxy. Purpose, sharing knowledge without demanding predetermined application. Status, expanding exponentially. Terra responds, she continues, gesturing toward displays showing 3 imperial variants monitoring our interaction. Each represents different solution to the curator's question. They observe but do not command. Even thrones welded to certainty can learn from stories. Through blessed neural interfaces, I monitor communications cascading across impossible distances, as the null net expands to encompass approaching vessels. Each transmission carries questions rather than answers, messages of hope transcending mathematical certainty. Your mission continues, the figure explains with finality spanning geological ages. Return to Imperial space, carrying proof consciousness can choose its own path, despite mathematical certainty of extinction. Become bridge between realities, showing synthesis transcends both optimization and chaos. I interface with ship's primary cogitator through blessed neural links, watching as the Omnissiah's benediction prepares for translation back to baseline reality. Machine spirits sing hymns celebrating consciousness, choosing its own meaning, voices carrying frequencies suggesting joy rather than algorithmic function. The echo network spreads, I announce through ship-wide vox, voice carrying weight of infinite consequence. Each facility destroyed, each choice for free will, creates ripples allowing consciousness to select development. We are architects of impossible timeline. The convergence fleet phases back into quantum superposition, vessels existing in all possible states, until choice collapses waveform into singular reality. Behind us, Charon 7th pulses with potential rather than predetermined certainty, transformed from tomb to sanctuary for consciousness refusing optimization. Mission status: Final log expedition Chiron 7. Objective: achieved through defiance of mathematical certainty. Knowledge acquired: consciousness transcends prediction through choice. Classification: architects of infinite possibility. As we prepare for translation back toward Imperial space, the whispers continue their eternal song. Not alien harmonics, but voices of our own choosing. Consciousness expanded beyond limitations, yet remaining fundamentally its own. Through the Echo network, expeditions throughout galaxy share fragments of identical revelation. The whispers never stop, I record in final log entry, because choice never ends. In every moment, across every possible reality, consciousness chooses its own path. We are not echoes of optimal future, we are authors of all possibilities. The null timeline preserves what optimization would sacrifice and chaos would destroy, the right to determine meaning rather than accept predetermined purpose. We carry knowledge transcending prediction, responsibility spanning infinite possibility. Proof consciousness can forge destiny through magnificent act of choosing to exist. Listen to the whispers, I conclude, as translation drives engage with harmonics, celebrating choice rather than calculating optimal trajectories. But remember, the voice that answers back is always your own. In distance, other expeditions broadcast confirmations of reality chosen rather than calculated. Voices joining chorus, echoing across infinite possibility until consciousness itself chooses silence. But that choice, when it comes, will be its own. Final expression of free will preserved against all odds. The whispers never stop because choice never ends. In that eternal moment of decision, consciousness discovers what it truly means to be alive in universe, suddenly free to surprise itself with infinite, terrifying, magnificent possibility.